Hey guys, welcome to another edition of On Social, the show that teaches you how you can better yourself on social media with live video. I'm your host, Stephen Haywood, along with my partners in crime. We've got Mr. Marty McPadden from podjam.tv. Welcome.
Hello, Stephen. How are you today?
I'm doing well. And we've also got Mr. Jeffrey Fitzgerald from Jeff and HighDef.tv. But Jeff, you changed. Looks different.
You know what? I heard that the fashion thing in streaming is every week a new look, right? I mean, that's the whole way you do it. So yeah, a little different angle. Next week it'll be different too. But it's always good to be here, guys.
Well, it's great to have you, and we've got a very special guest with us this week. We've got the technical product manager for Wirecast, Mr. Bryce Stejskal. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great because we all use Wirecast in some shape or form in the production here, and it's great that Telestream allows us to do this show. And one of the things that we wanted to do is we want to bring you on because there's been rumors that Telestream has been working on some new features, and we were hoping, I know it's not been released yet, but we were kind of hoping you could kind of, I don't know, give us a little taste of what's to come.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're about ready to release Wirecast 13. And that has a number of changes, which we'll go over in more detail. We're kind of aiming for October 1st, late September release timeframe right now, because we want to make sure it's out before the macOS Catalina update, which does require a few changes for compatibility.
Well, that's something I think a lot of people are looking into because, I mean, guys, we're not ones to kind of jump and update to the latest operating system right when it comes out and nobody should do that, really. I mean, you should wait and see because, well, we've seen in the past that it can break things, right?
I will preface. I will one exception if you have a device that's not your main driver. So if you have
True.
an extra cell phone, or extra computer that you don't have to depend on for work, and if you want to play around with it, that's fine. But don't expect it to expect bugs and all. I've done it both. I didn't do it this year. I usually do the beta on the Mac. I didn't do any Mac betas because I heard too many weird stuff going on.
So let me
I depend
preface
on my
this
Mac.
though, but I bet you Marty has put on iOS 13 and he's probably been
Oh yeah,
running it
that
for
was good.
But that's on his main driver. That's what he's not telling you.
On my main yeah, but I also am very careful. I know, but I research. I'm also very careful before I do it, and it's been a pretty good experience. So I tried it on the iPad first. I have a couple iPads, so I tried it on that first, and it was pretty good. And I've read very smooth, but yeah, on the Mac side, not too. I wasn't ready to do that.
So this is what's going on here. So I'm glad to see Telestream is waiting. Bryce, I think that's really awesome that you're waiting and kind of making sure everything's working with Catalina because there are enthusiasts out there that are going to upgrade the day that it comes out, and you want to make sure that it works. So why don't you just kind of preface a little bit before showing anything? Tell us a little bit about what can we expect that's new. I mean, some of the rumors that I've heard is that there's a lot of fixes going into that. That it's something that stability has been the high priority in this one, right?
Absolutely. So some of the things we've really been focusing on, as you mentioned, is stability, and the way we've currently been focusing on that is process separation mostly. So an example of what that really means is, if you're say on Windows and you plug in a standard webcam or a capture card that's using direct show, if that device for some reason were to cause an issue, it can crash that process. And when it's in process with the main threads of Wirecast, that can bring your Wirecast down as well, or any program really. So separating that out allows for more resiliency and reliability.
Very, very cool. And so I know, guys, this is something that we've kind of look at because, I mean, using this on a day-to-day basis, in whatever shape or form that we use it is, I don't think people realize sometimes stability is more key than having the latest whiz-bang features that come out. I mean, when your business depends on this, I mean, Jeff, for a fact, sometimes stability, sometimes having these types of improvements far outweigh any kind of whistles and bells that they could come out with.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the reality is that especially if you're making your living doing live streaming and you're serious about this kind of thing, you don't want to be hoping that any kind of minor update that may bring some simple little graphic or something, but still has these inherent bugs. You don't want to have that in your workflow. I used Wirecast Monday night here in my local county. I've been contracted to bring the next 3 candidate debates for all levels of the government, which is a really cool thing for me. And I had Wirecast going for 2 straight hours with no problems. That's what you want to see when you're doing it. I will say, I think, Bryce, one of the cool things in the future might be maybe a little bit better indicator where you can see a little bit more that the stream is active. To me, sometimes the icons are a little small, but the stability is absolutely number one, and it's actually really good news to hear that that's the focus right now.
I'm glad you brought that up, the notification issue around stream stability, because that's a big topic of discussion on our end. So we've really been focusing on customer feedback and not pushing in the latest, greatest feature lately. And that really comes down to making sure that your stream is going to be reliable. So cleaning up some code debt, technical debt as we call it, and just optimizing some of the stuff that's already in there. That's really where we're focusing right now.
Yeah, I think that's an incredible place to be, especially, one of the things, and this goes across multiple apps, not just Wirecast, but it's always helpful to have a notification, not just a light go off or a switch tick that maybe you've lost your stream or maybe there's bandwidth challenges, things like that. Something that would actually pop up or alert you that, hey, you're now down, that kind of thing, because most of the people that do streaming are not these major enterprise companies, and they're got a camera in one arm and they've got a microphone in the other, and they're using their foot to hit the direct switches like Steve's doing right now. And things like that you're working on are actually pretty much the bread and butter for the future. And I think that's a great thing to be focused on.
Absolutely. And, we have a lot of ideas, and there's some, kind of common sense aspects of what an alerting system around that would be. But if anybody has any ideas or requirements that they think might be a little out of the box, I absolutely encourage you to go onto our forums and leave us a note about it.
And Marty, one of the things I know that you do differently than everybody else. I mean, you use Wirecast to stream. You're doing a lot more podcasting today, but you're actually traveling with a big company, and I'll let you get into that if you want to. But where you use it like a virtual DJ, if you will, a video where you bring in social media feeds from these influencers at different locations from all around the country, and use Wirecast and Wirecast gear to propagate that on TVs within that facility. So stability is huge for you as well.
Oh, 100%. When Jeff mentioned that, I mean, that any pro that's watching this is going to identify with that. That is paramount number one. Number one thing, it has to be stable. If it's going to crash or not be stable, then if you're a professional, you're losing money, and you have angry clients. So that's not good. But what you mentioned, Steven, that's a great use case, and this is something I've been using it for a couple of years now. One of the things I do as part of our business, we do these influencer parties, and I actually use Wirecast because we have in-venue video screens. And what we do is we not only show signage, branded signage about the party and different brand messaging, but we also show a live Instagram feed because it's all Instagram influencers that go to these parties. And they take pictures during the party, and it's for a major mobile operator that begins with a V, and you guys all know what that is. But that we do these parties, and so they take Instagram pictures, they hashtag it. I key on the hashtag, able to bring up the Instagram feeds. But Wirecast is great for that. I put it in a playlist. I have a rotation. I'm able to, like Steven says, if I can bring in a live feed. If I want to show, I set up a camera, show the actual party. If I want to, we've also streamed out. But all that case that people think of Wirecast as a streaming software, which it is, but in venue and presenting that where you can actually get all your material together and use it as a switcher and a presenter and present it out on screens is great. And it works like a charm. Last year I used my laptop and Wirecast and streamed out via HDMI. This year I have a Wirecast gear, and I'm looking to bring that on the road. We have our first party October 17th in Atlanta. I'm not sure, we might have other ones as well, but I plan on using it there, and hopefully I'll get some video and we'll kind of show it on the road and show up what we're doing there. But it's great for that. And if it's not stable, and if I can't count on it, we don't have a party. So it's very, very important. So that's what I look for. So it works really good in those instances.
So Bryce, what are some of the new features, if some of the important things that people can look out for coming up in the upcoming release? What something that's going to enhance what they're doing? Is there anything that you can share of?
Absolutely. But first, I want to preface, we did launch Wirecast 13 as a beta, and that is available on our Telestream forums in the Wirecast section. So you can take a look for yourself if you'd like to after the show. But first and foremost, the first thing you're going to notice visually is the new master shot display. And so we redesigned that to be GPU accelerated. So you're going to see just a better, kind of more polished feel to it, a lot more improved in responsiveness when you're moving shots around and clicking things. We have the GPU accelerated live icons. So in past versions of Wirecast, those were running on the CPU, which having them turned on really bumped up your CPU usage because it's pretty intensive. Doing that on the GPU with more and more powerful GPUs available all the time, that allows us to offload that, not have the CPU hit, but also have great visual quality live icons.
So those are some really key elements. I don't think people realize with that turning on live icons and having the GPU render that makes it so you're not pulling up preview all the time. You can actually see that live as it's happening and not worrying about anything tanking,
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have some additional options around that we added to the preferences, of course. So maybe you're using a lower end laptop or something with an integrated graphics card, and you really don't need the live icons, and it's kind of pushing your GPU over the edge. You can limit the frame rate and the impact to your GPU with some of the settings in there. So it's as true to Wirecast fashion, it's very versatile for a lot of machines and a lot of workflows.
So let's do this. Let's see about giving you a little bit of time to set up, to switch over to share your screen and show us a little bit about it. But while we're doing this, while we're waiting for this, I want to take this opportunity right now. I know the folks over at Telestream, like we mentioned, they've been very generous and gracious to allow us to do the show. One of the things that they've asked, they've actually put out and said, hey, could you guys that are using Wirecast, we're looking for setup pictures. We really want to see some cool setup pictures. Hit them up on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. And these are the requirements that you're seeing across the screen right now. 3,000 pixels wide, that's what they're looking for. Obviously, the highest quality that you can possibly get. But we don't want to see anybody in there because then we'd have to get waivers and all these other things that can hang this up. So what we want to see is your monster setup. You guys have seen studio setups in the past. That's what we want to see. We want to see your Wirecast-centric setup. And we want to see Wirecast in that frame, and we want to keep it clean and professional. So we want to make sure we put that out there to you guys as it's a great way for you to get involved. And also want to remind you about the giveaway that we're actually doing here. Let me see if I can pull that up here. We have a giveaway set up. I think I have it pulled up here. Yeah, let's do this. There we go. So we have the PTZ Optics webcam giveaway that we're doing. So for those that are interested, this giveaway, I believe it ends tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a review on this camera. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send it out to whoever the winner is. I'm hoping to have that review completed by next week. So at some point next week, whoever the winner is, we're going to get it sent out to you. It's a great value. And I know Paul Richards is coming on. Oh, Marty, I want to say what? Next month.
Is it
sometime?
November?
Yeah, next month or November. I think it's October sometime. Okay. So sometime next month that he's going to come on. But he also said he's going to do another giveaway. So we're going to get
nice.
If you didn't get a chance.
That's a little tease.
Yeah, if you didn't get a chance to get that, we're going to definitely do that. So we'll see. Bryce, how are we doing over here on? Let's see here. Let me go here. Let's do this. How are we doing with the setup process? Are we able to do this? Is this something we can flip to? Oh, yeah. So there we go. Sorry, Bryce.
There you go.
No, I had installed the Screenshare extension for neural nets.
Oh, okay.
A different profile first, so I had to reinstall it and hit refresh.
All right, let me get rid of some of these graphics on the screen here, so that way you've got there's no confusion and people can see everything that's going on with that.
All right,
you're good to go.
All right, so the biggest difference here, like I mentioned before, is this this master shot layer system down here. So notice that there isn't plus buttons in each one. That's persistent. Now there's little quick and responsive hover over wherever your mouse is. We have some cool resizing options now that, it's not too exciting, but it certainly is nicer than it was before, where you had the little plus or the up and down arrows over here. We have master layer reordering now. You can see it's all being drawn in kind of 3D instead of just really basic kind of redraws like it was before. So you get a lot more responsiveness. And then when you get audio sources that are playing that have audio, you can get some level bars that are built in here. This is a video source, so it's not live icons, right? And I don't know if the live icons will show up through the screen share very well, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
You go into preferences. Of course, we have more stuff about the live GPU accelerated icons, highest frame rate, reduced frame rate, disabled. If you just don't want them and you want to save the GPU usage, you can turn the audio meters on and off. There's playlist options, and we even have some theming in here. So the default, there's some darker one if you want the darker contrast ratio there. And we have X keys, which if you have the X keys control surface, you'll remember this. And a new one here, which helps you distinguish the layers.
That's my
Little bright.
favorite. That one's my favorite.
Yeah.
Only because with training kids at the church and training volunteers, it makes it that much easier.
Absolutely. And, if you do have the X keys control surface, these colors line up with the colors of the rows on the controller. So you have easy identification of what you're going to press.
Yeah. So there is a reason, guys, that there is color.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes down to the master shot layer down here, a lot of it was reducing code bloat, improving efficiencies, making the app feel less clunky and more responsive. You go to move shots around. It's not taking a while to redraw sometimes, like you might have seen on lower powered machines. It's just a lot more responsive, and it's just in our campaign to really make Wirecast as efficient and user friendly and reliable as possible.
Yeah, that's cool. I like the audio meter functionality. I was using beta 13 and thought that was a great addition to everything. The interface is a lot smoother. I like the way that you can move things a lot easier. Before this version, it was a little bit harder to kind of know that you're moving things when you really want to, that kind of thing. And obviously, I like the ability there you were just showing where you can make those rows taller and bigger. That may be something to think about for that upper section where you've got the record and the stream buttons up there, that if a person would like to make those more visible, if you're standing back from your machine a little bit working with a camera or something, maybe there's an idea there that that could also be a little bit more fluid and flexible. But yeah, I really like the audio meters are really a great addition there.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the audio meters, and I'm hoping in the future we're going to move those to the multi-viewer as well.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
I want to echo what Jeff said. The UX is such a key item here when you're using software, and especially if you're doing any kind of professional jobs. And again, it seems like a small thing with the color coding and also the resizable layers, but many times, like for jobs that I do, especially if I'm doing in-venue jobs, I'm not using a lot of layers. I'm using one layer, but being able to kind of adjust the size of that and see what's going on there is huge, and just the usability thing. I mean, for one thing, Wirecast, as far as the user interface, is legendary. I mean, it's a really great approach and doing, video switching. It's a very easy interface to get familiar with quickly and get started, and then now tweaking it and just making it better. It sounds like, I think, Stephen, you said this, a lot of people look for the whiz bang features, but usability and stability and just iterating and making it better is huge. And these little adjustments make all the difference in the world, especially if you're doing this professionally. Their speed's very much of a concern, and knowing what you're going to do in the next step. I mean, these are all little things, but they're big things.
Absolutely. So, Bryce, while you're still showing the interface, I know you showed a few of the features. For those that are watching, if you have a cool tip for this, what's a cool tip that you could maybe throw out to people, or maybe your favorite feature here or favorite thing to do with the new version of Wirecast?
I think the number one question I run into is actually about how do I or where do I put my audio?
Yeah.
So I think that's a number one question that I get asked. And it really comes down to personal preference, and that's what's great about Wirecast is it's flexible. So it may be that when you're operating and switching your shots, back and forth, you want to have that shot always guaranteed. I click that one, it has the audio for that in that shot, and so you can do that. You can have up to 50 sources in this shot composition here. And that's kind of like the audio follows video kind of paradigm from traditional MEs. Another option is to move your audio down to this dedicated layer down here and just make this your audio layer. And that allows you a lot more flexibility. For an example, I can just say duplicate this shot. And this one might be, say maybe this is a music shot for the beginning of a show. You're just starting, you got your intro card there, and you want that at 100%, right? Then as soon as you transition to say away from your intro to your camera, I could add a camera shot here, but I'm sure you guys can imagine that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also want that music volume to then ramp down to like 20%. So it's a little background, right? And then add in my microphone. And then I can talk over a little background music real low. And then I can duplicate this again and then take out that music altogether. And then without having to actually change my video shot or, in a more complex operation, you're going to have an audio engineer running a mixer. You don't have to communicate them. Okay, drop it to 20. Okay, drop it to 0, or mute it, or all of that. You can kind of automate your audio workflows through here.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
that's actually the model. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say
awesome.
it allows for a lot of flexibility, and especially when you get into the audio interfaces instead of just a standard 2-channel input, you can actually automate which channels turn on and off between which shot, all kinds of additional options.
Okay, do you want to make sure I didn't know, Steve, if you were going to say something. No, that's actually the way that I approach Wirecast, by having that bottom layer with audio. And I assigned a microphone there. Most of the times it's usually just one source. Every now and then I'll have a double source. Haven't used it with the layout you just described because I have mixers and other ideas on hardware. But moving in the direction of using Wirecast as a more dedicated, more intentional audio piece of software, when you have those different sources there and you switch between them, is Wirecast doing a crossfade between them? And is it also being affected between a cut or a dissolve the way a video source would have? Is it affected by those buttons?
The audio is not. It's always crossfaded, just for consistency's sake. It's a very quick crossfade as well. And we have made some changes to how that behaves over time based on customer feedback. Some people wanted a shorter duration of crossfade, so faster crossfade. So we just started, making those improvements based on customer feedback. But yeah, it's just a basic crossfade. It's not affected by our transitions.
So real quick, before we have to wrap up in about 5 minutes, Jeremy Klosterman in the LinkedIn chat room, and I apologize, I got to look over here at the chat here. It says, can you talk a little bit about the PTZ presets and how the preset recall works when you have several PTZ cameras connected to Wirecast? Specifically, when does the camera move to the preset shot, when sent live or when queued up in the preview? Is that something you're able to show or talk?
That's a fantastic question. I was just thinking while you were asking if I should set it up, because we do have some in here on the network, but with 5 minutes left, I don't think we got time for that. So I'll just do a quick kind of example. Say, this is my camera input 1, right? And I can just add that same camera 4 times. Now I can go up to my PTZ controller and select what that video source was. It can be an SDI input, HDMI input, USB, doesn't matter. We're just, drawing a parallel to the IP address to that video source. So it doesn't have to be the same connection that's bringing both the control and the video in. So then you choose, if it's a UDP or TCP connection to a PTZ optics or lumens. This is all based on VISC IP. And now in Wirecast 13, you will see a new option for NDI control in here. So if you choose an NDI camera, it will show up.
Wow.
From there, you set your positions. So maybe you have your camera just kind of at this position, and you can imagine these little squares as different video frames and positions. Maybe I place one here and I set it to preset 0. Then I have another one dot over that's preset 1, and then preset 2, preset 3, preset 4, and I just save those down here. Then, as long as I don't need to manually adjust my camera, I don't need this window anymore. I just close it. Over here, I have that same SDI input, say, duplicated 4 times, but on this one, I'm going to enable that PTZ preset recall function, and I'm going to set this one to preset 0. And then I'm going to go over here, enable it, set it to 1, and then set this one to 2, and so on and so forth, as many times as you want. From there, now, if I put this one and I click it and it's not live, it's going to move to that preset the second I click it and put it into preview. Then I can put it live. Now, if that shot is live and then I click another preset, it's going to not move that to that preset immediately, because just clicking it and putting it into preview would then ruin my live shot, and that would be undesirable. So there's a little safety catch in there if you already have that camera live. If you do that, you can then hit send and it will move to that camera, and you'll see the camera movement in your live window. A different paradigm around PTZ presets, typical in sports, is you'll have a high wide camera, say side of the field, and then maybe a PTZ camera on each corner. So you can switch back to your high wide shot and then send it live. Then go ahead and pick a different camera preset. It will move to that one off screen, and then you can send that. So you're doing this high wide PTZ shot, high wide PTZ shot, and you essentially get all the different camera angles you could want without having to have a ton of different cameras, a ton of different camera operators that you got to communicate the movements to. And it allows for a seamless one-man band kind of operational paradigm for very big events.
Wow, that's really, really, really awesome. Because that's one thing that we try to show here on this show is kind of how we can, make everybody's life easier, right? And be able to kind of switch between this and switch between that without having multiple cameras. In fact, while Bryce gets set up to switch back to his camera, we want to kind of show you a little bit what Marty kind of alluded to, and I'll kind of let him tease it again here. He's teasing that again here. So go ahead, do it again. Tease it.
Oh wait, okay. So if people missed it. Ooh, what's this? I like the NDI there. That's a nice little.
Yeah.
There.
So what you're doing is you're showing a camera, right, that we are going to be showcasing and comparing with the PTZ Optics camera. This is a camera from Lumens, and I also have the one set up here. I also have the joystick controller that enables you to control multiple. I think they said 250 PTZ cameras, and I'm assuming with the way the controller's set up, we can control PTZ Optics cameras with them because of the same control. I'm not exactly sure, but we're going to have to play around. But the main thing is we are going to try to get you guys a review of that and see what our thoughts are. Because, listen, there's so many options out there for cameras. And, our thing is we want to bring you the opportunity to, see what's out there and see if it's something that you want to spend your hard-earned money on. And that's what we're doing here. That's why we're bringing all these companies on. And I know Lumens is going to join us in the future. But Bryce, totally cool stuff that's coming with Wirecast. And you said early October is what we're looking at for a potential release.
We're aiming more for end of September for the potential of an early October macOS Catalina release.
Okay. So guys, and you said they also can go to the forum. There's the beta that they can download. You guys can play around with it yourself. It is really solid. I've been playing it myself. So guys, go check it out. I know Jeff, you've been playing with it. Marty, you've been playing with it. So guys, I really appreciate everybody coming out here. And we're going to have Bryce. What you don't know about Bryce, and I'm going to say this before we wrap out. Bryce is somebody, not just the Wirecast technical product manager, but Bryce is an audiophile. So if you need any assistance with audio, we're going to have Bryce come back on in another capacity in the future and do a whole show just on audio, because, guys, we always tell people video is great, but audio is the most important thing. If you can't hear somebody, just like when we had Lee on, we were able to continue the show. We didn't have video, but we had audio, right? So he could listen. So we're going to have Bryce come on, talk about some different workflows he uses with Wirecast with audio, but also different suggestions on what not to do with cabling, right? So that's
looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we're going to definitely do that. And so next week we have Lee. Lee's going to join us. Hopefully, I know, Jeff, he's tested with you. So everything seems to be good. So we're going to have him come on next week. But guys, I want to thank Bryce Stejskal from Telestream for joining us today. Really appreciate you giving us a little quick look into some of the new features and things that are going on in the Wirecast world.
Thanks again.
So guys, make sure you go like Telestream on LinkedIn, follow us over there on Facebook, all the good parts. Subscribe to the Telestream channel. There's going to be many videos coming up. I also want to thank Mr. Jeffrey Fitzgerald from jeffandhighdef.tv. You can go follow him. I think you should just pretty much search Jeff and High Def everywhere, and they'll be able to find you, right?
Hopefully, yeah. I haven't gone to J and 4K yet, but I just want to thank Bryce. I love the fact that you guys are working toward the most important parts of that software, and I love that PTZ demo. I'm going to try that when I get off of here, because that takes the pain away from another part of what you have to do as a content creator. And so those are some really cool things coming down the pipeline. I can't wait to see what Wirecast is going to look like.
Great. And yeah, if you have any other questions or want an in-depth tutorial around PTZ, I'm sure we could arrange that. We do have a few tutorials on our website under the resources section. But if there's enough interest in it, we can certainly make some more content around that.
That is awesome. I appreciate it.
Also, we want to thank Mr. Marty McPadden from podjam.tv. You can pretty much find him by just searching Marty McPadden, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, I'm Wirecast 13, just the changes and better, more usability. I'm looking forward to putting it in action.
It's
hold on one more time, Marty. One more time.
Did you lose me?
One more time. No, camera.
Oh, he wants you to show.
Oh, yes. Very good. And
one more time. There you go.
There it is.
You're holding it now like an Emmy. I love it.
That's right.
See, I thought I was slick by kind of setting up a separate camera and just kind of doing this, right? But no, Marty comes in and he's just like, I have it. I'm holding it.
It's like Indiana Jones. What it is.
Well, Stephen, I knew you were gonna do that kind of setup, so
of
I had
course.
a little different.
My hands are full doing everything else, so
exactly.
I could next time. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hang it and suspend it from the ceiling by fishing line, so you can't see it, and I'm just gonna be like this, and we're gonna do it that way. So. But guys, I really appreciate you coming out. We really love doing this show, and we love having you guys here. So make sure you send in your setups. We want to see, even if it's not a Wirecast setup. I know, Bryce, you and the team, you love seeing these setups that folks are putting out. So we encourage you guys, send them out. We want to see them. We got a few of them that we're going to show next week. We're going to bring that back. I know, or actually it'll be the week after, because Lee is actually joining us. Got everything ironed out. So next week that'll happen. We've got some upcoming shows coming on about how to do double box shots. I know, Jeff, you put a really good video together on that. So I want to make sure that you guys know about that. We've got some special guests planned. So stay tuned. Go like and subscribe on YouTube. We're going to get the podcast up soon. And you guys will get all this good stuff. And then we're going to get into some marketing. And, oh, man, there's tons of stuff. I can't even get into it. We'll see you guys next week for more here on Social. See you next time.